Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muhi-ud-Din of Spring Session 2021 and topic of my today's presentation is Rise and Fall of Mughal Empire. So the question arises, who were Mughals? Mughal is an Arabic word derived from the word Mongols. Babur, the founder of Mughal Empire, was descendant of Timur from paternal side and Genghis Khan from maternal side. Babur was born in what we call nowadays Uzbekistan and became the ruler of Kabul. Meanwhile, Ibrahim Lodi was the ruler of northern part of India. The rise of Mughal Empire started when Babur invaded India in 1526 and won a decisive battle against Ibrahim Lodi in the Battle of Panipat. Hence, he founded Mughal Empire. After the death of Babur, his son Humayun came into power at the age of just 22, but being an inexperienced young man, he lost his empire to Surias. He ran to Iran where he made an unexpected alliance with Safdis. He came back to India 15 years later and regained his empire. This brought forward an era of stability and prosperity, an era of art and architecture. Humayun brought with himself Persian art, architecture, language, and literature that blended with that of Indians. Humayun's empire relied heavily on military power and his expansionist policies. His heavy military became a burden on treasury. For that, he created currency and taxation system. His government earned heavily from taxation. Humayun was also known as Insan-e-Kamil, a perfect man. He died at the age of 49 in 1556 and now lies in his tomb in Delhi. Jalal-ud-din Muhammad Akbar became the third Mughal emperor. He became king at an age of mere 14 in the midst of war. He had what is said to be the most progressive reigns in the history of India. The Mughal Empire flourished and expanded under his rule. His empire expanded to almost half of the subcontinent. Akbar's reign is said to be the most peaceful reign among Mughal emperors. He constituted universal tolerance and inclusivity. His empire flourished so much that he contributed 25% in the whole world's GDP. He boosted Indians' architecture. Many monuments, palaces, and other great buildings were built under his reign. He died at an age of 63 in 1605 in his capital Agra. He was known as Shahenshah, the king of kings. Akbar handed over his large empire to his son Salim. Salim, being a patron of architecture, spent most of his reign building monuments. He also extended his empire over to Bengal. He boosted Indians' trade by letting in British East India Company. He died at the age of 58 in 1626. He had a short reign of 22 years. After the death of Jahangir, Shah Jahan came into power. India reached its peak in cultural glory in his reign. He is mostly known for his architectural achievement, Taj Mahal, that is considered world's wonder. Because of his extensive expenses, the empire suffered economic crisis. He died at the age of 74 in 1666. Aurangzeb became the sixth Mughal emperor by murdering his two brothers and exiling the third and imprisoning his father Shah Jahan. He was a military man who extended his empire over the whole subcontinent. The Mughal Empire reached its highest peak economically and regionally. He controlled political instability in India caused by Shah Jahan and Jahangir. He died at the age of 88 in 1707. The fall of Mughal Empire started after the death of Aurangzeb. India fell into political turmoil. The cities he had conquered started to disintegrate. Aurangzeb's idea of killing brothers and father became a norm among nobles rather than reality. The political turmoil, violent feuds among princes and nobles, and interference of external powers like Marathas not only weakened India economically but also militarily. The growing nepotism, factionalism, and the rise of regional powers made the situation even worse. The Mughal Empire was in such a disarray that it can be assessed by the situation that by 1719 four emperors were fighting for the throne. The reasons for the fall of Mughal empires can be studied in a short time span of 1707 to 1720. By 1720, the Mughal Empire had turned into a large sick giant that was great only in its size but had no real control over its people or lands. The Maratha Empire and British took advantage of the situation and started their expansion. The Mughal became a dynasty without an empire. A series of inefficient rulers followed and led up to the total destruction of the Mughal Empire. The British East India Company began their untiring efforts to colonize India to the dismay of all the empires in the subcontinent. By 1857, they had occupied all of the India and only one Mughal emperor, Bahadur Shah Zafar, remained. Bahadur Shah Zafar tried to start a rebellion against British to take his throne back, but that failed drastically. At the end of War of Independence in 1857, the whole Mughal family was persecuted. Bahadur Shah Zafar was shackled and deported. This marks the official end of the once ever great empire. Thank you for watching.